welcome back to a new Dwarf Fortress. So, I should have the introductory video already out there. That should have covered the sort of ending of the previous fortress, and I figured that while I'm at a new fortress stage, I might as well go ahead and upgrade. So, the plan for this fortress, rather, is relatively similar to the previous. I'm going to do it somewhat tutorialized, so hopefully that will be useful, especially if you're moving over to the new version. I do realize that it's 5 or 6 months after release at this point. However, Dwarf Fortress does tend to be a little buggy the first month or two after release anyway, so after looking over the changelogs and whatnot, it does appear that a lot of the bugs got squished. Various goblins and gremlins got chased out of the code. And, if I cannot drop my keyboard, everything looks to be relatively stable. So, again, usual disclaimer applies. I will probably upload the initial fortress somewhere, as soon as I can figure out how to, a good place to do that. And probably at the very end, I will upload another one. The series will continue until either irrevocable crashes occur, like what happened in the previous. It gets to a point where I can't continue for whatever reason, or the fortress falls into a, well, you kind of know where that's going. Anyway, I do plan on starting on another relatively young world. DF version DF 2014 does bring into the mix a 2-week difference between embarks. So if you embark, immediately abandon the site, turn around and embark again, 2 weeks will advance in the timeline. This does pose a couple of interesting challenges, namely the caravans I do not believe change the time they come, so you could have some pretty interesting things with the first couple of caravans. This will be the first time I'm doing the new 2014 version Dwarf Fortress. I did make a couple of maps just to make sure everything got installed correctly, and pretty much embarked, made sure everything was working and looked right, and then left the fortress. So, let's see, relatively young world again. It keeps things nice and fun. There are a couple of times that I've seen people try to do the longest world, and they kind of kill off everything before they even start, so the world becomes a little on the dull side. Let's see. As usual, the mod list will be in the description, so if you're interested in that, feel free to play along. The mod package this time is the Modest Accelerated for version 0.40.8. If I can upgrade safely and not have the world implode on me, I'll do so. But until that happens, we're going to be on the 0.8 version, or 0.08 version rather. Modest Accelerated Phoebus, Phoebus being the tile pack. So, aside from that, let's go ahead and get started. Usual tools. Slight disclaimer, I have pulled the tools from a later version of Dwarf Fortress, the 0.15 release. So, hopefully they won't be buggy. Anyway, let's go ahead and get this world created, or at least baking. So, lots of new stuff for the world gen. Let's go with a large world. History, very short. That'll pop us 5 years from basically the rise of Dwarven civilization. A number of civs. Let's go ahead and bump this up to let's go to very high. I want to have some excitement. Maximum number of sites, let's bump this up to high. Number of beasts, high. Natural savagery. I'm feeling confident. And just to kind of even things out, let's go ahead and put the mineral currents to everywhere. So, I'm expecting a sudden and violent end to my fortress. Anyway, pardon any wacky flashings that occur. Hopefully it won't be bad for anyone. Anyway, it looks like the world has finally managed to settle itself a little bit. And the usual sort of incredibly detailed Dwarven Universe world gen gets to work. This is going to take a minute while it builds the terrain, but only a couple of seconds while it builds the history. So much for that world. So when it comes to world gen, Dwarf Fortress has probably one of the most detailed world gens I have ever seen. I do know there are a couple of games out there that make Dwarf Fortress look like the well, it is actually fully documented. It makes Dwarf Fortress look very, very polished. Just the amount of detail that they put in. No, actually Dwarf Fortress is very polished. Aside from the UI and the slight graphical issues, and a couple of just oddities and bugs, Dwarf Fortress is actually incredibly polished. Like the world it just generated. So, let's have a look. There's that. So this is a very large world. Consequently, the size is going to be a little bit bigger. Not really an issue at this point, as I'm only going to have to upload it once. So we've got the usual, I'm not sure entirely where, or rather what all these are. But it looks like we've got some evil areas, some, not sure what the light blue is. They're good areas, I think. Nice little Necromancer Tower, and 2, and 1 and 2. And some more evil areas, and I think that's desert. Alrighty, I think we'll take it. So let's go ahead and accept that, and it's got to offload. One minor caveat, DF 2014 does tend to grind computers a little bit more. The default for 2012 was 200, and a lot of people up that 250 to 300, sort of, and accept the slowdown that it causes. So, DF 2014, the default is 120, I upped that to 150 with a hard cap of 200, so that's going to be kind of interesting. Hopefully the modest and accelerated components of the mod will make up for that. I thought 120 was a little small for a full-size fortress. Anyway, Region 1 is my testing one. It's pretty much just embarked. Made sure everything is working, so let's go ahead and go to Region 2, and we're going to check the fortress mode. So, the first video is going to be a very briefly covering the embark settings and whatnot. And it looks like there was a major battle or something. This is the 2-week progressing the world a couple of days. I think it's 2 weeks between major events. So, for this, I'm going to aim for a slightly warmer climate than last time. Badlands, I want temperate to warm, and let's see, prairies. Shoot, I really should have taken out aquifers. So 2x3. Doom, doom, doom. So we're after 4x4. That will come later. So I'm thinking for our first, let's see, what is, it's Badlands, Fears, Dunes, Fookstone, Deep Meadows, Aquifer. There's a lake, and I think we're actually over too far. So I'm liking this area. I think these are... I actually have no idea what these are. I really should at some point when the world should map. Anyway, I do not like swamp. It tends to have, well, bad things. I embarked in swamp once. Within the first week, I had lost 2 dwarves. Few snakes, ironically. Now, not the large ones, not anything big, just venomous snakes. So, let's see here. Mode, elves, goblins, dwarves. Holy cow, we've got a couple of civs. And elevation, cliff indicator. So I'm thinking warm or temperate. Temperate, conifer forest. This is looking promising. Aquifer, I do not like. Looks like there's a fortress or something there. Actually, Deep Wilds is... that's Badlands. Something I might do this time. It's ocean. That's Badlands, that's forest. Temperate shrubland, forest. And let's see, we have ocean, shrubland, and forest. I think. This looks like a relatively good embark. So hopefully we don't run into any aquifer. If we do, I'll come up with something to deal with it. So let's go ahead and embark here. Area with salty water. Actually, one thing I need to do, let's move the embark site ever so slightly. And embark here. So we're going to prepare for the journey carefully and pull up our therapist. Okay. Doom, 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 doom. So a quick look at... Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Can we... Yes, we can. So let's... Just looking over some of the new... Just looking over some of the new features in the new version. So, with that said and done, we have 2 males, 5 females, and no good miners at all. Which is problematic. Although at the same time, there aren't really any bad miners. So I'm going to go with the usual 2 miners, carpenter, mason, farmer, brewer, 2 miners, and a doctor. So, our mason is going to be... Here's our mason, who is our... And we have our doctor. So, wound dresser, diagnostician, surgeon, bone doctor, and suturer. Leaves... So we've got our mason, we've got our... Okay, mason, carpenter, I find that having a relatively proficient carpenter helps. Although I am going to split carpenter and herbalist. 4 levels on herbalist, save us some points. that leaves our farmer. Ironically, pretty much everyone's good at farming. Nibble is our... where's the brewer? Brewer, cook, and I'm going to toss 3 points into growing. And you are going to be the... let's see... grower. And thrasher. So with that done, I need to come over here and knock down a couple of thread, cloth, ropes, single quiver, single bucket, single splint, no crutch, no wheelbarrow. We can make that stuff easy enough, and it's not worth the hassle. So this will be our pair of miners, and they're going to be very much full-time. So, usual copper tools, 2 copper picks, copper battle axe, iron anvil, dwarven rum, and let's grab dwarven beer, 20 of. Helps start out with a little selection, and I'm going to move all the drinks up to 21 to get an extra free barrel out of it. So, 2 male dogs, 2 female dogs, 1 male cat, I think we're going to go with rooster, 6 hens, plump helmet spawn, going to move up to 9, pigtail seeds 9, cave wheat seeds 9, sweet pod seeds 9, rock nuts 12, cup spawn 9, plump helmets, to move that up to 25, and remove the rabbit meat. Let's see, proficient miner, proficient miner. So, that's those. The other thing is going to be shear. One ram. Oops, or not. I'll have to import those. So 58 points left. Let's grab lobster, eggs, copper, and bronze. That does not hold up a lot of hope for any sort of steel. Steel bolts, though, so those are available. I'm going to grab three leather and cloth, wool cloth. I'm actually going to grab 2 of those. Just in case we get any strange moods that suddenly need cloth or leather. So, with that, we've outfitted our fortress. Let's go ahead and embark with E. And this is going to take a second. Okay, you have arrived after a journey from the mountain homes into the forbidding wilderness beyond your, and of course this has no punctuation whatsoever, your harsh trek has finally ended. Your party of seven is to make an outpost for the glory of all I have no idea how to pronounce that. Thank you, Dwarven language, of which I'm not an expert. There are almost no supplies left, but yada yada yada. New chapter of Dwarven history begins. Chucked gold. I see some humorous opportunities coming from that name. Strike the earth. So, let's have a quick look at what we've got. So here is the map. This is a 4x4, so it's sort of the usual size. No mountains whatsoever to dig into, which means we're going straight down. Should be interesting. So zooming in a little bit and back on here, we have the multi-part trees, which I'm looking forward to enjoying. Lots of trees, lots of trees. This will make defensive structures a little interesting. And I'm suddenly very glad we have a carpenter. I'll need to change my... Okay, so here's something interesting. I just reloaded the Dwarf Therapist, and I'm going to hold this over real quick. Let's see if I can actually make this come through. So, all the dwarves have a mining skill between 49 and 44. These guys got bumped up quite a bit. So this is their mining proficiency, I guess. And something I'm going to do real quick is scripting roles, optimizer, options, here we go. Grid options, that's not it. I'm looking for the display, gender icons, cell tooltips. Here we go. Growing center boxes. Okay, almost what I'm after. Growing fill. Not what I'm after. I hate when the interface changes. It's not really what I'm after either. And this is a fork of the Dwarf Therapist that I was using before. So it's similar in function, although a different coder or someone else got into the code, so it's a little bit different. Anyway, this looks readable enough. So we have our miners. That's the fit. Anyway, I'll muck around with this a little bit later. So, as before, mostly for the sake of my sanity, and in the interest of sort of moving things along, I will be doing the revealed map. Quick look at this. This is white sand, driftwood, sandstone, so we're not necessarily on a beach. I would say we're sort of not really what I would consider a sort of traditional beach, but more of a small drop into the water. So maybe 2 or 3 foot cliff, sort of above the water. So we have driftwood, and this is clay cherry tree roots. That's the other thing. I do not know how the root mechanic works. So another reason that I'm going to be doing the revealed map. Don't want to get too lost. So that's going to wrap up this episode. Right on time too, almost. So I'm going to muck around with Dwarf Therapist for a few minutes, reveal the map, see what's there to offer, and go from there. Maybe lay out a couple of things, get a general idea of what I want to do with the fortress, and I will get everyone back so you don't have to watch the tedious, boring parts. So, until then, stay safe.